Hi, my name is Taylor McCurdy and I'm coming to you from eco training here on Pridelands. My most favorite animal in Africa has to be the elephant that's behind me, and this is Kumo, you'll meet him. But elephants just in general, they're really sociable, they're always doing something, and I love to see the interactions between the members of the herd. To learn more about these elephants, join me on channel 183 on DSTV.
This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Jumbo, everyone. It's another lovely morning and the sun is up. That is the sunrise here in the Masai Mara. Welcome to your live safari. Jumbo, lovely people, thank you for tuning in. It's another wonderful morning that we are here in the Masai Mara, and it is official. It's morning because we have a lovely sunrise. The backdrop is just unexplainable. Beautiful balanitis trees. I have the sounds of the birds. It's just superb. Well, good morning, my name is Isaac, and on camera I have Bungay. And this morning our plan is to stay at the marsh, so if we can find some cats for you, since yesterday it was quite a long evening, I couldn't find some, so I'm going to try and find some cats. This morning your weather for the Mara is around 15 degrees Celsius, which is around 60 Fahrenheit. We might have some rain today later on. Hopefully it will be after the drive. Remember to talk to us, #WildEarth. Send in your question at kidsquestion@WildEarthTV. Questions and comments are really welcome. Remember, we are at different locations here in Kenya and also in Southern Africa. So we'll be sharing you, our live experience and what is happening this morning. This morning, is at South 50. Good morning, or Jumbo. It's an amazing, a spectacular sunrise, I would say. You would say it is just stunning. The clouds there resemble a mountain at the back, and the mist resembles an ocean. It's just that scene you'd think it's real, but it isn't. But the only thing there that's real is a balloon, the trees, and the plains with all the trees. It's just beautiful. I'll just give you 5 seconds to listen how quiet it is. You might hear a few birds here and there, but it's just very quiet. Well, apart from the birds, there is no much disturbance of anything else, and it's just wonderful. The fresh air just fills up your lungs, and you feel like, you've never breathed such fresh air before. I'm gonna move on because I did see some hyenas further down, and while I get towards the hyenas, I'll let one of my other colleagues introduce himself or herself.
A very warm welcome, good morning, and welcome to this other side of the Masai Mara. We have lions that are not happy. This lioness is actually fighting Olalache. My name is Tim, and behind camera we have Big James. This is a very wonderful morning. The sun is shining bright. We have lions that seems like they're growling. One of the Leopard lions, the one with the collar, was actually fighting off Olalache. So we have about 4 lions here. Just hear that growl. So the lioness to the right is actually mating Olalache. And seems like the one with the collar might have been Nisa, because some few days ago, like a week ago, this lioness with the collar was mating Olalache as well. Kubi is trying to cut her, but she's not happy with him. You can see another young male yawning there. Beautiful sunlight shining on his mane. A week ago, these lions were mating, and actually Olalache was mating these 2 lionesses. So, not quite sure why they came back again, but Olalache was yesterday. Isaac was watching them mating again, and that young male was accompanying Olalache, but he's always kept at bay. He has no mating rights. Look at Olalache. Olalache is a big lion, so can't really let him closer to these lionesses. Uh-oh, she's not happy. See, that posture shows dominance. Look at how he's bristled his mane. And the other lion lowers his head in submission. Okay, he's come back. So once you show submission, then there's no fight. Thank you for your question. Male lions can travel as far, like about even 10 kilometers away from their natal prides. This is because there are other females within those prides, and there might be younger or smaller males than them to go and conquer. So that is how they take over and want to rule over. We have a vehicle passing by. We have other people who want to come to enjoy this sighting, which is also nice, watching these lions this morning. So the male lions travel a long distance. Sometimes they can travel a long like over 20 or 15 kilometers away from their natal prides. So that young male is practicing the flame and grimace, trying to analyze the scent where it passes through the Jacob's organ, and that can really tell if one of the lionesses is in estrus, a common behavior we witness in animals. So the lioness with the collar yesterday made a hunt together with her sister. Rachel, yes, a male lion has ever killed a lioness, but it's not always encountered. But if it's a fierce or big fight, then they can be able to kill them. But not always that you always see them killing the female lioness or the lionesses. See scent marking there. I'm going to sit here, watch these lions and see what is going to happen next. Seems like a very interesting sighting this morning as we take you over to another safari vehicle.
Here we have got something very interesting, yet possibly not quite so beautiful as the vistas of the Masai Mara. Hello? Now bring the camera to my face. Thank you, BK. I find with young people, they change their habits regularly, and one is forced to give them instruction on a regular basis. My name is James Hendry. On camera today is BK the Biceps. Not malingering today. And what we're looking at is a pile of dung, but the dung has been partially buried, as you can see. Now, this has been affected by dung beetles, and I was learning this very morning about how they navigate. And what is interesting, of course, is that they use the sun, the polarized light of the sun. They use the line of the Milky Way in the polarization, or not the polarization, but the line of the Milky Way, and they're able to use the polarized moonlight in order to navigate. Now, it's a little bit more simple for dung beetles than it is for things like honeybees or sweat bees, which have to fly great big distances to find their food. These guys use that navigation to move the balls of them. These beetles, however, obviously don't make balls. They're just buried underneath the ground. And I've often told the story of
These lions seems like they're actually giving Olalashe a hard time, but Olalashe is still convinced that he's going to mate with one of them. But the one with the collar is not determined at all. The young male has walked off, so he's been left by these two lionesses, but seems like something is drawing their attention. You can see him out there. He's trying to scent mark well, getting some scent there. Bless you, that was a big sneeze. So in future, when he becomes prime, he will have all the mating rights. But if Olalashe is with him, he has no rights at all. That's why you see he's walking on the edges. He can't get too close to these lionesses because of how small he is. So he's... Thank you for your question. The collar on her neck will not interfere with mating at all. These collars are fitted in such a way that they don't interfere with the lion's behavior, lion's activity, lion life whatsoever. And after the research is done, after it's collected all the data, it's going to be removed so it doesn't interfere with the mating. He's decided to come back again. Look at his paws, very strong. When it's wet, because of the rains last night, they prefer walking on the roads, sleeping on the road like right now. Wow. Because it's warmer on the roads. Because they're cats. Cats don't like getting wet. So these are typical behavior we witness after the rains. He's been associating himself with our lashy. So they make a strong bond, a strong team, where they'll be walking over from a territory to territory, and this is what they'll always be encountering. So if they walk into a pride area where there are no males, there will be a bit of a clash before they mate with the lionesses, before they become submitted into those prides. Remember, these males sometimes face a very hard time. For example, if he was alone and kicked out of the pride area, he will be a nomadic, walking from territories to territories, where he has to be silent, because if the pride males get to see him, he's going to face it a hard time. As I'm watching these lions sleep and the rest waiting to mate with your lash or maybe make another move, let's take you over to another safari vehicle.
Good morning and welcome to andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve. We have stumbled across a beautiful elephant bull. You can see he's actually just come out of the trees as you started watching, which is so lovely to see. My name is Kim, and behind the camera we have Craig, and we will be your guides with you this morning. You can see that there's a lot of animals that have started to come into this section of the reserve, and I think a big reason behind it is you can see that luscious grass that he is starting to pull up right by the roots and feed on. He was feeding on the trees just before this. Now he's pulling up that lovely green grass. It's quite characteristic about this elephant bull. As you can see, the tusks aren't quite even. One's slightly higher and got a slightly larger curve than the other. And it's quite usual to actually have different sort of tusk structures amongst elephants. It's one of the ways that we can identify them. Another way to identify this bull in particular is you can see there's a little tear in its ear, on its left ear. So that is another way we can identify them. There's a reason we do ID all our elephants. It's quite a useful thing to do, because there's a certain type of contraception that you can use for elephants. It's called PZP, and what it is essentially injecting the females with a pig protein, and it acts very much like the pill for humans and just stops their ovulation for a few years, and then it wears off. So just to slow our elephant population down, because being an apex sort of animal, there's nothing that will naturally control their population in a fenced-in area. So you do have to sort of influence it a little bit. So we use contraception on our elephant, and we try and slow their population growth to about 2 or 3%. And that's why it's so important to note these identifying features on these elephants, because when you're using that drug PZP, it's it requires a top-up drug, so you have to be able to inject the same elephant about 30 days later. And you can imagine, in large areas with huge herds of elephant, to try and find that same elephant 30 days later is going to be a monumental task. So that's why we've kept such good notes on each of our elephant and their identifying features. He's really enjoying his breakfast this morning. So there were 2 other elephant bulls. They've moved off into a thicket. So that's what he's doing. He's slowly following them. And I think he's probably going to disappear soon as well. So we'll watch him until he goes. And then we are going to carry on and look for something else this morning.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. And we've got these little bat-eared foxes to say good morning to everybody as well. Good morning. How beautiful. Little family group. Busy doing a little early morning foraging. Good morning. My name is Carl. Glenn, behind camera. Welcome. Thank you very much for joining us. And what a special little treat we got here this morning. A little group of bat-eared foxes. So there's a small family group here doing a little early morning foraging before they go down for the rest throughout the day. Oh, behind the bushes now. Glenn, there's another one there. Just to the right of that camel thorn. It's going to come out on the left there where you are now. Punch in. There we go. Yes, you see, I don't know, Glenn just feels where the animal is. Listening. Where's my breakfast? So this is a small family group that we... great stuff. This is actually a little family group that we know on this cut line fairly well. And they stay within this year. And year after year we can come past this clump of bushes and we have got a very good chance of finding these beautiful little animals resting out at the burrow entrance during the daylight hours. But now it's really nice to catch them on a little bit of foraging behavior before they go to their burrow system and rest for the daylight hours. So our plan of action is actually we're going out west this morning, and we would like to share with you folks the beautiful and constant activity of the sandgrass coming to a watering hole out west. So we're going to go out there, we're going to find a watering hole, we're going to hold anchors there, and we're going to hopefully get a few of these birds coming in these constant waves, which is really remarkable, watching constant entertainment, and also a great opportunity for a nice coffee, warm up in the sun, and then just enjoy the birds. And it's also a very nice watering hole for a lot of animals to come in for water. But I'm really happy that we got to see these little guys. Look at that. Chris, I'm glad that you like the ears. Those 13 centimeter long ears really are remarkable tools. That enables them to listen for all their tasty little treats under the ground. And you can see how that animal's projecting its ears forward. It's got a very acute sense of hearing, and it really allows them to listen for any activity of insects underground. But the sun hasn't risen on this side yet. You can just see the beautiful landscape and how it's silhouetting this dune. So we're sitting on the western side of this dune over here. And it's just a beautiful scene early morning with the vegetation being silhouetted by the rising sun. So a very good morning to everybody, and welcome and thank you for joining us. It's absolutely marvelous to have you on board on this sunrise safari. Felma, how big is their territory? So these guys aren't territorial, let's say that. Like a lion, lions are very territorial, where they'll demarcate their areas and they'll actively defend a core area. With bat-eared foxes, they have home ranges. So this is an area in which this animal will kind of wander in, and it would overlap with other home ranges of other bat-eared foxes. They can even be found at a food source or feeding together if it's a viable and abundant source of food. But they're not territorial. So they have a small area that they roam in and range through. And that will depend on prey availability, also rain, or there'll be other factors like vegetation, other animals. Look at that. But really amazing little creatures. You can see how it's adjusting its head, so it's almost pinpointing. It's allowing the ears to line up correctly, that the ears can then pinpoint where exactly that little prey item is. We're going to send you off to another location, and we're going to hold you a little bit. We'll catch you out west.
I'm not sure how far we got in our last discussion about the dung beetles, but if I find another lot, I'll reiterate what I said. What we've got here is a generally unattractive, scraggly bush, but it has now produced lovely little flowers that are almost indistinct. They are green flowers, not particularly common, and they smell delicious. Not quite like the Conference of Granny smell that I got off a ochna on the way home yesterday from our bushwalk. But a very subtle floral scent coming off Pyrostria hystrix, the porcupine bush. So if we take a wider view of the whole bush, you can see that it is not something you would necessarily use in a decorative hedge. On account of the fact that it is very scraggly indeed, and I'm sure that the presence of elephants doesn't really help that. But it is very distinctive, the porcupine bush, and you can see why it's called a porcupine bush. And we'll now use a very fancy word. I'm not sure why this word has come into use, but there it is. These branches are described as decusate, because they come out from the trunk at 90 degrees. Decusate branches. I mean, there are lots of words in English that are inadequate for describing many things, and in many other languages you have single words that describe what can only be described in 4 or 5 words in English. And I naturally can't think of an example right now, but the fact that English has come up with one word to describe the branches coming out of a trunk at 90 degrees strikes me as a waste of intellectual pursuit, actually. But there it is, decusate. That is all I have to say about Pyrostria hystrix, the porcupine bush. We are now in the valley of the great Umluwamati River, as you can see around us. The raging waters threaten to drown us, and we are going to flow down the river, hopefully to find some tracks of some interesting animal.
When you come to the Masai Mara during the migration time, that is what you'll be doing. Look at the balloon up in the air. Some tourists enjoying these beautiful sceneries. We have lots of wildebeest, lots of zebra, and lots of plains game as well, and lion, like the one sleeping on the road. Our lion is not yet awake. I think he's still enjoying the warmth on the road, and the others are still the same position how they were. Seems like Olalasha is courting one of them, but Gail, thank you so much for your question. They do notice the balloon sometimes when the flames go up, but because of the level of how far the how high they go. So they are not bothered, but of course they can see the balloon. They notice the balloon up in the air. That is another way of enjoying your safari. While others are watching us live, others are watching from the balloon, while others are watching from their living rooms. Seems like they walk a long distance. 2 days ago, I saw them by the Owino Pride area, which is on the edges of the escarpment. Yesterday, they were seen by Isaac mating, and today I'm here by the Ololo Pride area, where again they're walking and this guy is sleeping here. Seems like he's not had food maybe in the last three days. You can see his tummy getting a little bit small, and you can almost see the rib cage. That's a good rollover, sign of excitement, and it's trying to stretch there to get a little bit of warmth and sun on his belly. She's up again. Maybe she wants to court him again. So probably they want to take on a move. So I'm going to sit here and wait to see what's going to happen. Oh, that's a big fight. Oh. Someone is not happy. Look at how he's trying to be aggressive to that young male there. As you watch these lambs here, let's take you over to another safari vehicle.
Well, different location, and here I have the cleanup crew, or I would call them, they're called the scavengers. Remember, these birds are birds of prey, and they play a very important role in our environment over here and in the ecosystem, because without them there'll be a lot of disease that could be brought by flies that would lay eggs in carcasses like the one they are feeding on. These birds are very threatened. In the recent years we have seen a big decline in these birds. I'm talking about the vultures. The one in the middle with a very pinkish head is called the leopard-faced vulture. Most of you know him. He is our largest vulture, and they are solitary breeders. They pair for life, and usually you find nests in the middle of nowhere. The one with the wings open to the right there, you can see it. That one there to the right looks like it's got scaly. Look at that. The scaly feathers. Those are Ruppel's griffon vulture. Another way of identifying them is looking at their beaks. They have ivory-colored beak. And what they're doing right now, they've been in the rain. Last night it rained quite a bit, and so they're drying the wings. Remember, right now they're very vulnerable. After feeding on the carcass, they are so full, sometimes it is very hard to take off. Sometimes they have to hop. They need a longer runway. So drying up the wings means you can take off quicker, just in case a hyena, a jackal, or the owner of this carcass decides to come back. And then we have the African whiteback vulture. He is the most common. Usually, I think, is the less looking, the lesser looking vulture of all of them. He's the one to the left. They're usually quite dark. When they fly, you'll see the white spot on their rump. It's the farthest ones to the left. You see that one approaching, the African white-back vulture. So we have 3 kinds of vultures. These are the most common. Remember, we have about 6 vultures in Africa, and the rarest one is the Egyptian vulture. Very, very, very rare. And it's not here. But these guys are really, really doing their job, as you can see, making sure that nothing goes to waste and that carcass is fully utilized until whatever is left is only for nature to destroy it, which is in bones, which can take up to 20 years to fully disintegrate. All right, I'm gonna sit here for a little bit longer, so let's find out, what else we have for you this morning.
Welcome to this other side of the Mara. So our lion on Lashe is busy scent marking when the lionesses are not happy with him. Look at how he's grimacing, trying to get the scent, analyze if they're still in estrus, while he's not happy with this young male that is lying on the road. There was a bit of some blows that went on, so the lionesses have stepped back a little bit, but he's still not convinced to leave them. There's a bit of a grooming there. That lioness with the collar, she's cleaning her face. We saw a big blow on her face just about now, and sometimes when these males are fighting, this is what ensues. So the big men really help them, actually, because of the big blows that they land on their head. So it protects when they're actually fighting. That is one of the main things that helps when these males are fighting. The bigger the mane, the less blows you get. Yes, this male is trying to show dominance. You can just saw how he was doing a big posture, stretching off his head and lifting his head. And also when he growled at the young male and also trying to give the lioness some bits of blows. So that is how they show dominance. And for them to be submissive, they have to lie down, raise their heads down, crouch a little bit on the ground to show submission. And if not, then it's going to be severe. These lions will retaliate and then fight them off until submission is shown. The Lash is not happy. As soon as he tries to make a step, he growls. Just listen to that. Yes, he's not happy, so keep off. By rolling over, that is way of submission. And just what happened, as soon as that young male showed submission, Lashe just stepped off. If he retaliated, then it would have been a severe fight. Dominant males demand respect in this pride. Look at his posture. Look. What a lovely sound. Look at his posture. That is a way of showing dominance. Super interesting morning. Remember, we're coming to you live. #WildEarth. On the YouTube comment section at FC. For young viewers, questions at wildearth.tv. So everything has settled now. He's back to sleep again. And if one of the lionesses make a move, it will be another interesting sighting, because he'll try to wake up and follow to see what they're doing or where they want to go. Sorry, I didn't get that question. Please, if you can repeat that again. Emily, yes, there's a point where they can't have cubs when they're about, I would say, over 22, when they're super old, especially the lionesses. But sometimes you can see these big males mating. But of course, they'll get to a point where they'll not or cannot give birth again. Yes. But we have animals that in this wilderness here, that even if they get to an old age, like the topi, elephants, they can still bear young ones. So I'm going to leave them here. Seems like nothing much is happening. No mating, because these lionesses are not happy with him. So I'll just carry on and take you over to another sighting where it seems like a very good morning.
Good morning, fine people that are the safari lovers. We're here with Thandi and her little one. Of course, a good stick sighting there too. I'm happy to be back. Hi everyone, it's me Charlotte. I've got him on camera with me in the Sabi sands at Djuma Game Reserve on Battalier Road. Very specific. And we're here with Thandi and her little one, and they're busy eating. Or at least one is busy eating. Thandi is a little bit further down in the tree. We can't see her just yet. Well, we saw her when we drove in, but we thought let's get a good look at our cub here first. You can see there's still a lot of meat on there. So hopefully they'll be here for the whole day. Oh, some Egyptian geese have gotten his attention. What a gorgeous fellow. Look at his big boy paws. Just lovely. Thandi's done such a good job with him. And he's growing up really big and strong. We don't see him for long periods, and we see him again, and he looks bigger, well fed. And it's wonderful to be able to see them before our stint ends. Have another vehicle coming into sighting. If you hear the rumbles, if you hear the flashes, there's some photographic safaris here as well. Everyone's asking how I'm feeling. I feel great, thank you everyone, but my arm and my shoulder and neck don't feel so great. As long as I'm kind of staying still, like in a static sighting like this, then it seems okay. I think I have a pinched nerve in my back, but thank you everyone for asking. At least here I just have to look forward. So if you don't see my face too much, it's because it's just a little difficult for me to turn my head back. Oh, yet again we're getting anatomy lesson from this little one in Thandi on the jaw structure of a duiker, as we did last time when they were on this road too. I got a question there about whether they'll always eat in a tree. I'm going to grab the name of that viewer again from you, please. Tim? I think Tim. It was something like that. Well, they don't always eat in trees. The general way it goes. So the reason they hoist Oh, Chris. There we go. Thank you. When she said like Christopher, then it made sense. Thank you, Chris, for your wonderful question. I'd like to know if they always eat in trees. The reason that they hoist their kills is to eliminate competition, so it doesn't get stolen. There'll be other leopards around, other hyenas, or hyenas in general will be around, and they're the ones that can really take away their prize. So they hoist the kill to eliminate that competition. But they won't always eat in the tree, and in fact when there's no hyenas or in an area where there are no hyenas, they won't hoist their kills and they'll feed on the ground. But when they initially make their kill, they might take it straight up, or they might feed a little on the ground before they take it up. It just depends on how safe they feel. I've always noticed that Kuchava feeds on the ground quite a bit before she hoists her kill. And she has a territory that's different to here, so maybe with Djuma clan so present in this area, they hoist very quickly. And also if they eat a little on the ground, even if it's just for 5 minutes, then it takes a load off the animal for hoisting. And they'll generally try to disembowel the animal before they hoist, but not always. Oh, here comes Thandi. She looked like she was going to climb a little higher, and then she's just flopped over there. Slap nuts. You'd like to know how long would this kill last for this leopard? A kill like this, if it were just handy, would last about 2 days. Maybe even 3. With the both of them, by the end of this day, I think it'll be done for. It looks like this little prince is giving this duiker a kiss. Looks like it's got some lipstick on too. Some of the best anatomy lessons I've gotten have been from leopards and lions with kills. We must always remember that. Just show a bit of appreciation and thanks to the animal that is lying there dead and allowing our wonderful predators to eat.
Wow, look at this. Look at this amazing creature. My word, it's beautiful. We were busy out on our way out west, and Glenn spotted this on the side of the road, and we just hooked the brakes, and we thought, wow, let's just appreciate this amazing arthropod for a few minutes. I want you folks to take a look at the legs. Look how it works like a Mexican wave from the back all the way up to the front. So I mentioned the other day 2 legs per segment. It actually was not right there. It's 2 pairs, not 2 legs, 2 pairs of legs per one of these segments. And you can see how these pairs of legs move this animal forward in quite a consistent and steady manner. Beautiful trail left behind. If you want to get into tracks and signs, look at that. It's like a train track. So really easy to ID later in the line. Beautiful. You can see how the antenna, 2 pairs of antenna, 1, 2, and that's picking up chemicals from the ground. They've got 2 pairs of eyes which are right in the front, at the bottom there. They've got a pair of mandibles which work against each other, obviously feeding on fungus, decaying plant matter. I just love watching their legs move. It's so systematic and so effortless. Wow. Incredible. That is beautiful. I'm glad that you guys love this. Just to look how big it is, I'm going to put my hand just next to it. Look at my hand in comparison to this animal. It is as long as my hand is. That's about 13, 14 centimeters easy. But what an amazing creature to be viewing. So incredibly, some of the species can live between 7 and 10 years. Sarah, why do they need so many legs? I think it's just a passed on trait where this animal has been successful with all these legs to move about. And if you think about a train with all of its metal wheels, it's a very efficient way to move one's weight, especially through the sand, so you're having a lot of traction. Some insects are very fast over the sand. They're well adapted to move over this sandy environment. So maybe with all these legs, it can really move under and in between the undergrowth and between all the vegetative matter. It can pull itself forward, almost like it's got 4x4 and a bit of traction control. But yeah, astonishing on how many legs this animal does have and how they move in unison. But really remarkable to see this animal moving. We're going to send you off to another safari location. We'll see you later.
So from the lions to a bush where we have a small cat, Serval cat, who's super playful, just hunted a mouse. Look at how cute that cat is. Seems like there's something else she's looking for in these brushes here. Very active morning today. So servals depend on their very high sense of hearing. Look at how, if it comes here, you see that they have very long ears, which are specially adapted for listening to sounds across in the long grasses. They also have longer relative legs in comparison to other cats, where if they locate prey, they will jump in a loop kind of jump where they'll catch birds up to about 1.5 meters, even sometimes 2. They're always solitary unless it's a courting pair or a mom with kittens. Super cute cat, Serval. not leave here until she is successful. Seems like there's a mouse that is playing hide and seek here. And looks like he's not a shy serval. Most servals are shy. As soon as we encounter them in the long grasses, they run off or hide. We try to habituate her, but she seems she doesn't even care our presence, which is so nice. When animals get to do whatever they're doing without seeing or without being deterred by the presence of our vehicles. They'll hunt from snakes, birds, rodents, lizards, grasshoppers. Whatever is in there is giving the serval a hard time. Jenny, these are not same as genets. They are actually different from genets. They are but the same family because they're felines, but they are not on the family as a genet. I mean, they're not the same species as genet. Not sure if he has something on there. Wow, super cute cat. Very playful morning. Seems like we started the morning off well, from the lion's activity to now a serval. Oh, that was a super flash run. Oh yes, they got the mice. So playful. So I'm just going to roll forward a little bit for a better angle, better view. You okay there, James? She is playing with her food. Yes, a typical behavior with cats. Even though the mouse is already dead, they play that game. Of trying to catch it, trying to roll it over, flip it up, toss. Look at the sharp ears, how she's flipping the ears. Those ears come in helpful when they're walking through this terrain, because anything that walks in the long grass will be detected. Oh. He's trying to play a stalking game, watching the mouse. This is what they do. So catch a mouse and make sure that they play around with the mouse. As soon as the mouse is dead for about 10 minutes of play, or 20 depending on how full they are, that's when they'll start eating. If the mouse is not dead, then he's stressed, traumatized, That's why it's not even moving at all. Sometimes they play dead, hoping that these animals will leave them. We've seen that kind of an activity where we find snakes playing dead, lizards, and even mice. Whenever there's a predator, most animals will play dead. We've seen that behavior also on lapwings, where they'll play dead, or sometimes they'll play injured. Nice posture there. Marianne, thank you for your question. Yes, this cat can be domesticated, but we don't actually allow that. We don't really want people to domesticate them. But if maybe you come across a kitten, you can habituate, domesticate, and then release them back to the wild. Yes, it's an easy cat to domesticate, but then they belong to the wild. And if we come across an orphan, maybe if I come across a small kitten that is by the road, I'll try and maybe habituate, take it to the authority where they'll domesticate, but then later on in a stage, they will release it back to the wild. So this Serval is very active. I'm going to sit here and enjoy this scenery as we take you over to another safari vehicle.
That sounded very, very entertaining. It's lovely to see a serval. I haven't seen one in the wild myself. But instead I get to see leopards almost every day. And that's a treat enough, I think. So now we can just see Thandi. She's at the bottom there. Look at her golden coat. She's so good at just letting the cub feast, do whatever he needs to. Look at that little nose sticking out through those branches. Oh, that's too cute. This young boy with the last kill that we had on the same road on Batsilia, he also really enjoyed the face of the animal. I wonder if it feels good in his teeth, or if he just likes the taste of the meat around the face. Patrick, you'd like to know if a male leopard will eventually steal kills from his mother. Leopards steal kills from each other all the time. And it doesn't matter what relationship they have. When this one grows up, he is likely to steal kills from Thandi if he's in a position to do that. But it happens all the time. Even if they're family members, even if they're not. Because remember when we spoke about talking about competition and why they hoist the kills? When they hoist the kills, they're trying to eliminate the other competition, but other leopards can still get up that tree and get to their kills. So that's why it happens quite a bit. Tingana, Tlalamba, Thandi, Hosana, Tlalamba, and No, I haven't seen it between Tlalamba and Shidulu. But I've seen Hasana and Tandi. So it happens all the time. Sometimes when you see a leopard in the tree with a kill, you don't know if it's actually their kill or not. Actually, I have seen Tlalamba and Shidulu when we weren't even sure who made that kill, because at one point Tlalamba was on the top, at the other point Shidulu was at the top, and they swapped over like that a couple times. So yes, at some point he will be able to steal from his mother. Although his mother is not an easy leopard to get away with that kind of behavior with. Tandi's moving just a little bit. Come on, Tandi. Help yourself. Girl on fire, you wanted to know. I think I heard Tlalamba and this little one, and I think you asked for Tamba as well. There we go. Hi, girl on fire. You want to know what's the age difference between Tamba, Tlalamba, and this little cub? So Tamba was born in 2016, mid-2016, and Tlalamba was born at the end of 2017, and this little one was born in March of this year. So between Tamba and Tlalamba was a year and a half. And then between Tlalamba and this one, it's about 2.5 years. Tandi has doesn't stretch out the time between her cubs. And remember, there was a litter between Tlalamba and this one that did not survive. And that's probably why there was an extended period. Yeah. And remember that ultimately leopards reach an age of independence at about a year and a half. And she's pretty much, as soon as that's happened, she's been ready for her next litter. Very, very relaxing here this morning. I'm just waiting for the sun to peek out and to really show us how beautiful our leopards are. We're going to sit here for as long as we can.
We are looking at a member of the orb web spider family. It is a massive, massive family. And this particular member is known as a kite spider. There are a number of different kinds of kite spiders. And this one is called a kite spider because altogether now it looks like a kite. Well done, yes. Good. It also looks like a bit of dead leaf, which is currently what it's trying to pretend to be. And its little web is on this tree, almost invisible. And, I mean, I've seen them here before, but they're not very common. So it's quite fun to see. And I think its shape is entirely to keep it hidden and unobserved. So it just looks like a bit of floating leaf that is caught in something. And that will hopefully, for the spider's sake, avoid it being killed by something that likes to eat spiders. We've come all the way down towards the south of the reserve now, and in fact we're right near the southern boundary, and we're going to cut west from here, hoping to pick up tracks maybe of one of the other leopards that operate in this part of the world. I think what's interesting though is that this area used to be the sort of meeting point, if you like, of Thandi, Sibui and Shidulu. And Shidulu's now been spending a lot of time up in the north. We think she may have a den. And so there's always the possibility that another leopard could come into this area. Or Sibui might expand a little bit and spend a bit more time here, which would be great. What part does sight and smell play with leopard tortoises? Was that the question?
Territory.
Leopard territories. Oh, right. Okay. So, well, I think they're all interlinked there, Puma. Sight and smell all feed into the memory. They all feed into the memory, and without that memory, the territories would be meaningless. So they have lots of memories of landmarks, definitely. They also have lots of olfactory memory, and so they will definitely smell each other and perhaps different areas. I'm not sure how different these areas smell from each other, though. Yeah, probably they do. We've got such pathetic olfactory senses in comparison, but both. And hearing will also feed into the memory. So they're all all inputs, if you like, into the memory. Taste as well. Probably not touch so much. Their whiskers probably pick up very faint pheromonal signals that might be in some areas and not in others. Yeah, so they all feed into the same kind of memory bank. That was the kite spider. On we go. I think we'll just go and have a look at the water here and then head west.
Back here with the Serval, she's still super active, so playful with the mouse that she caught. She's not yet started eating. Seems like she's enjoying a good time in this morning. Now Servals will be super active in the morning and at night. These cats are vulnerable to wild dogs, hyena, and even leopard. And sometimes if lions come across these cats, they can take them. I've seen once a martial eagle going after a kitten. So when they're walking out in the open, they can be vulnerable too. But they have that special adaptation where they will walk in the long grasses and hide in the bushes, like the one she already caught, that mouse. She has to look around. She's worried also of predators, because if she keeps on playing without being alert, then she can also be prey to another animal. So the females and males both have their home ranges where they overlap. Sometimes you only see them solitary, unless if there's a mate that will come to mate with her when she's in estrus. So when they leave their home ranges or their territory, they will go to others because of search of food and water. But sometimes you find that if a member is made into another one's territory, they will fight. They're actually very good fighters. I've seen once about 2 years ago when they were fighting off, and it was so severe such that one actually lost an eye. So these cats, even though they're small, they also have a special adaptation of defense. Sorry, I didn't get that question again. Please, if you can repeat. You can see our elephants in the background. They're walking slowly toward the marshes. That seems like a matriarch leading up the calves and the sisters to the main swamp over in the distance. And Serval seems like Samo, thank you so much for your question. How well protected are the wildlife here in the Mara? We have rangers that are on patrol 24 hours in a day. We have the border between Kenya and Tanzania, where we have Serengeti and Masai Mara joining in. So we have rangers that are always on patrol on that side. We have Kenyan unit. We have helicopters on standby in case they spot something unusual. And we also have residents who are the Masai who play a very important role in watching over this wildlife, as because it's not fenced, so wildlife can roam over from the conservation area to the settlement area, where the community act as scouts, and if there's a case of maybe an animals trespassing through the mainland to where the farmlands are, they will report that. So we have very, very tight security when it comes to animal watch and conservation. So after the rains, sometimes we find less herbivores, because when there's adequate rain means that there's lots of food distributed. So you find that they'll only concentrate and gather in the plains and the swamp when it's dry, because there's lots of water in the savannah. There's more grass, more bushes, more foliage. So only during the dry season that you find a big concentration of game in the swamps and the rivers. Seems like the rain is carrying on, so we're watching over and seeing lots of animal movement here in the Mara. So I'm still going to stick here and see what our Serval is doing as you watch those elephants walking over in the distance, heading to the swamp, as we take you over to another safari vehicle.
Yes, welcome back on board here at Tswalu Kalahari. Look at this amazing bird. This is a spotted thickney, ladies and gentlemen. A beautifully cryptically colored. Yo, look how fast that thing is. It's just in undergrowth there, Glenn. There it goes. Wow. Fantastic. Sure. It's like a little roadrunner. That was a beautiful spotted thickney. And if you see from the coloration of that beautiful bird, the cryptic format or plumage that it has allows it to sit in the undergrowth such as this. And when it sits down, closes its eyes slightly, it disappears. Really spectacular bird to see. Long yellow legs, obviously enabling it to move very, very quickly. This is a species that we have in the inland sections of South Africa, and the only thickney species that we have here on Tswalu. There's another species called the water thickney that will inhabit lagoons and pans around the southern parts of the country. But what a remarkable bird. If you saw there very quickly, I wonder if you guys focus on the very large eye that it had. That enables that bird to see quite well at night. Obviously a large eye, more inlet of light, but it remains fairly inactive through the daylight periods, and then as the onset of night comes, that bird becomes very active. But how remarkable to see that. Sure. Hear that you guys have a fantastic morning. Serval playing, oh my word. How lucky. But myself and Glenn are still continuing out west here. You can see how the vegetation has kind of changed in comparison to what we have been seeing. The vegetation's a lot closer in this section. We've got no more undulating of the landscape. We're kind of even and flat running out west here. And you'll see that even the soil color has changed. If I come over here and if I grab some of this, you'll see that the soil is actually, it's still quite red this side, but you'll see that the soil will start becoming a lot lighter as we go further out west. But incredible. And hopefully we can get a lot of activity from the sandgrass and hopefully some other animals coming into the pan. Let's continue west here. Beautiful morning, starting to warm up now. And we are starting to de-thaw. A lot of blackthorns in view there. Give you guys a nice slow pano of the vegetation, which is always important. We're going to send you off to another safari live vehicle and we will see you shortly.
I heard the most wonderful update on the radio. I hope you didn't catch me singing it, but it was, I'm with some Impala Trishala. That woohoo, it rhymes. Here we have back-to-back leopards. Thandi has been sleeping in the most strange positions, as if she's about to climb the tree or climb higher, and then she just stops and falls asleep. At the moment, like that, she's asleep. Looks like she's about to dismount, but she's sleeping. Very, very awkward positions. She looks like a statue of a leopard on the move. Meanwhile, little one here is still having a go at the carcass. Karen, you'd like to know what parts of the kill are eaten first? Firstly, they'd like to take off the stomach, take out the stomach, and all of those intestinal bits that they prefer not to eat. So they generally open up the midriff, remove those stomach contents. Oh, hello, Thandi, welcome. Thank you for joining the dinner party or breakfast party. And then they'd like to go for the soft bits. Those include genitals, rumps, and having opened up the carcass ready to get stomach contents out, they'll go for that meat. That is basically the juicy bits, the shoulders and the thighs or rumps of the animal. If they can get to the eyes with ease, they'll have the eyes too. Whenever you find something dead, like a small animal or something that's been taken by vultures or anything like that, it's just kind of dead, not something that's been caught, First thing to go was the eyes. The eyes and the genitals. Soft, exposed, and juicy. Bet you've never heard that sentence in your life before. Hello, Starlight Ann. You'd like to know if there are any hyenas around at the moment? I don't see any. And when I arrived, I didn't see any. And usually, if you see the carcass dancing like that as he's moving it around, that will attract them. Even if they're lying quite low and in the drainage, if they see that, then they'll be up and about and you'd see them. So for the moment, I don't think there's any around. There probably were yesterday. And it was nice and fresh. I'd love to go and check on the hyenas today as well. It was such a pleasure to see them yesterday. Oh, look at these two. Isn't it just dazzling to see two leopards? Oh, that's so lovely. Leopards and sticks for the morning. Look at her staring at him. She wants to get in and have some breakfast herself. And we're going to be here when she does.
Here we have found ourselves what I believe to be drop-tailed ants. They are called drop-tailed ants because, rather like the kite spider, they are obviously demonstrating their name. Their tails face towards the bottom. These are distinct from cocked-tailed ants, which are not to be confused with pina colada ants. There are no such thing as a pina colada ant. And what they are doing is milling about, going looking for things. Now, we've been talking a lot about navigation of insects lately. And so this is another good opportunity, especially as it is a cloudy day. Now, we know that various species of ants are able to use polarized light in order to find their bearings. But remember that that's not necessarily good enough, because it's all very well knowing if you're going north or south, but there are always going to be errors that slip in. And often what these ants do on their forays out from the nest is move in concentric circles like this. And then they move further and further away, and they find something to eat, and they make a beeline dead straight back towards the nest. So they can't do that purely by having a good compass. They must be able to recognize the area that they come from. And so a lot of insects, and I don't know if this applies to the drop-tail ant, but from what I'm seeing here, it probably does. They do little circles around the nest to give themselves a visual picture of what they're looking for when they come back. And that helps to correct for any errors that there might be in the compass, because the compass has got to bring them back to a very small place. And then if you combine that with the scent trail, a lot of ants use scent trails, not all, but a lot of them do use scent trails. That makes for an efficient navigation system, which I just think is rather fascinating. And in fact, even more impressive, there's a little biting, is it a biting fly? Or a stingless bee? I think it's a stingless bee that lives in the Amazon. And what that thing does is that it spends a good sort of couple of minutes flying around its nest, orientating itself, and apparently taking a visual picture of where it's going to go, or of its home environs, and then it flies away, far, goes off miles away from the forest canopy, or through the forest canopy and up above the forest canopy, and then it comes back and manages to find its little nest again in very dim light, which is remarkable. So that's what's going on here, I think. And on a day like today, when it's cloudy, I think that's how I began this little discussion, it's very tricky for them to find their way, because for those that rely on polarized light, it's all confused with the clouds. So perhaps they're using something else.
This little one's still eating, and Tandy has found herself yet another awkward position to fall asleep in. She's finding it very tough on this particular tree. Look at that. She keeps shifting. There's this tiny, tiny little branch sticking out where she's plonked her bottom onto. Doesn't look very comfortable at all. Oh, you're giving us a look. He's got beautiful, beautiful face and eyes. Kim, you'd like to know if Tandy's if she's at the ready if he drops it? She would be. It doesn't take a lot of time for a leopard to be at the ready for anything. They're always alert. And he's threatened to drop it a few times. He's threatened to drop a lot of kills when I've seen them. And she always looks ready to pick it up. In fact, he dropped it the last time. Or the last time they had a kill in a tree, but there was so little left, but he did drop it. And first she gave him this look that I would not ever want to get from Tandy. And then she got down and she picked it up. Look at that face. Now, if there were a whole lot of hyenas around, she wouldn't have a chance. But now if he dropped it, she would have a chance. Also, even though he looks like he may drop it quite a few times, he really doesn't, and he shifts it around and things like that. So he's obviously got more control than we think, or than we see. Jakarta, you'd like to know if Tandy's cub will still be suckling? No, he won't. So he was end of March, April, May, June, July, August, September. End of this month, he'll be 7 months. And he won't be suckling. He'll be starting to be weaned between 10 weeks and 3 months. And then he may suckle a little bit more after that, but definitely not exceeding 6 months. So he won't be suckling. He seems to be enjoying his solids very much. As they transition, they'll have a bit of meat and a bit of milk. Oh. See what I mean? There's this threat that he might drop it, but he's got so much control. He's gotten some fur in his mouth. That's one of the funniest things to see, is them cleaning out fur and trying to spit it out. Very, very cool.
Morning everyone and welcome to andBeyond Ngala. You are with me, Roan and Odie behind the camera. We spent this entire morning tracking the lioness with the cubs, both the cubs, you can see their tracks, but still no luck. We had them last night, briefly found them just before sunset, so we couldn't actually stay with them for too long. But as you see, cubs are still looking super healthy, mom was looking super healthy, and it's quite interesting to see now the size of the tracks of the cubs are actually larger than a female leopard, and they're only 6 months old. So what we decided to do is come a little bit further south. The tracks were in the Timbavati River heading south, and we're seeing if we can pick it up anywhere again. So that is our plan for the morning. Interesting, the weather has completely shifted. So yesterday we had a northern wind blowing down, and now because we're driving south, we're actually driving into a southern wind, or a southerly wind. But so far, no luck yet. Been a very, very quiet morning on Ngala, which, you know, these things happen. See, the area that we're in is very good for zebra, giraffe, and wildebeest. And a little bit later, we'll get to a massive open clearing, and we might find some of them there. Also, there's usually a pair of jackal in that area. So we're hoping to get there in the next maybe 10 minutes or so, and then see what else we can find.
Oh, not that I can hear very much at the moment. Maybe there's a hyena on its way. Katie, it's like at what point they'll stop eating and leave the rest of the carcass for a scavenger? I think I can hear a lion. Sorry guys, I'm a little bit distracted. There's something. Yeah. I can hear a lion. Alright, let's just keep an ear out. Sorry, Katie, back to your question. When there's just hooves, especially the skinny legs of the antelopes, when it's just the skinny legs and hooves left, it usually looks like a head with a spine and some hooves attached to it. When that happens, they'll leave it, and they don't really care if it's secured. Sometimes you'll see it up in the tree because it's been stuck there, because, you know, it gets dry and stuff like that. It's just this skin with the spine, head, and hooves. You'll see it stuck in a tree for weeks because nothing can get up to it, and no other leopard wants it. I'm gonna be quiet. I want you to see if you can hear the lion. Stopped calling now, but it didn't sound very far away. I'm sure all you can hear the camera's going. It's like a press conference for this little one. You're so famous already. Maybe that's why Thandi is kind of resting, but not quite. She is aware of a lion nearby. Either way, being high up in the tree, they're pretty safe. We're going to keep an ear out and an eye out.
We have got a bagworm here. Now, a bagworm isn't really a worm at all. It's a moth. And it's a big species of, or big family of moths that occurs around the world. And they belong to the family Psychidae. Psychidae. I think it's quite a nice name. Now, I mean, for the caterpillar to create this little protective nest, I think is an impressive feat of A, engineering, and B, brute force, because there's some pretty thick sticks there that have been employed for the purpose. Inside is the cocoon, in which the caterpillar is becoming a moth. Now, what I've only just realized, or just learnt, is that the female bagworm, in most species, as far as I'm aware, doesn't actually ever emerge from the bag. She is born without eyes, without wings, and without legs, and she never eats. So all she does is emit a very powerful pheromone that attracts male bagworm moths that come to her bag. They mate with her. I assume she then lays eggs inside the bag, and she then pops her clogs, which seems to me to be a rather depressing existence. But anyway, I'm sure given that the female bagworm never knows what it's like to have eyes, legs, wings, or the taste of a fine Michelin star meal, perhaps she doesn't feel she's hardly done by. I don't know if this is a male or a female, or whether it is in fact emerged or not. Isn't that interesting? And you find them all over the world. So you might find one in your garden, if you have one, or in your city park. There we are. It is sitting on Flugia verosa, the white berry bush, and the white berries are just starting to form. They are not white yet, they are green. This might actually be flowers, which will turn into berries. Gorgeous. That was quite exciting. All right, on we go to our next thing.
So, welcome back to andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve. We've stumbled across something quite special this morning. You can see here, I don't know if you can see this millipede that's actually dead. And what's very interesting is that there is in fact a dung beetle that is busy carrying it off. It's a tiny little dung beetle. I'm struggling to see what exact species it is. But you know, some of them don't only feed on dung, they also feed on a little bit of carrion if they can get it. And obviously, you know, something like this, a dead insect, is great food for it. It's amazing because the dung beetle is about this small and it's managing to carry this millipede quite far. I think what it's trying to do is possibly find some soft soil, and then it might bury this millipede. It's quite unbelievable because this millipede must be 8 times the size of this dung beetle, and it is managing to maneuver it around. It's changed its strategy a few times. You know, first it was right in the middle, and then it actually walked out to the other side and started pushing it from behind, and now it's again put its body right in the middle and is pushing it forward with its head facing the millipede and the back legs just sort of getting any grip it can. Quite interesting with dung beetles is they don't have very good sense of sight. They've got what we call polarized vision. So they use any sort of light to navigate themselves. And you can see that it's actually starting to walk in circles. Might be struggling to figure out exactly which direction to go in. It's a very cloudy day today, so it's not very easy for this dung beetle to actually navigate itself using the sun. So it is walking a little bit in circles at the moment. And unfortunately for this dung beetle, it is quite hard soil. You can see But the soil here is very compacted. Now it's again switch strategies. It's now going from the back and is pushing it forward, going completely in the opposite direction. Oh, it's amazing. This is the first time I've actually seen a dung beetle feeding on something other than dung, so it was quite an interesting find. Quite an interesting find for me. So I think we're going to let it find some soft soil and bury this millipede. We're going to carry on looking for some cheetah or some lion this morning. They're giving us a bit of a run around, but hopefully we'll find some fresh tracks soon.
Well, dung beetles are very interesting, always interesting, and somebody has to do that job. Well, here I have spotted hyena and some vultures, and they're busy what they doing what they do best, and I'm just loving that. Look at the wingspan of that vulture. Good work, Spungai, nice. Yeah, now you can really tell the feathers of Ruppel's griffon vulture, how wide they are. That is a good 6-7 feet from one end to the other. No wonder they are some of the highest flying birds. Yeah, it has been said, it has been discovered that these guys can fly up to 27,000 feet. Yes, 27,000 feet up there. And, looks like he wants to look nice, so he's busy, cleaning up. Look at that. Just cleaning, himself or herself. Really hard to tell between male and female. But these guys very much like birds of prey. Yes, they are birds of prey. They pair for life. And right now, they're busy drying their feathers. But were rained on during the night, and also maybe during feeding. This area was quite wet. They walked through the grass and they became even wetter. And so now it's time to dry. It's also a bit of yoga, Can you imagine staying with your hands spread out for more than 10 minutes? Actually, you can develop some muscle or some pain. So it's also exercise. Yeah, these guys, remember, they can see quite far, more than 10 kilometers on a high point, and they can pinpoint dead animals, blood, and also can smell. So they're always on the lookout for carcasses. And Master Predator is here with us. Although very many people mistake this animal to be a scavenger, he is actually a very efficient hunter. But today, I'm a witness, we saw him come, so he is scavenging. They do this every now and then to keep them going, to keep them alive until they find something to hunt. Usually, they're very resilient. If they decide to go for something, they will go. Remember, this is a predator with one of the strongest bites of all predators in the world, about almost 12,000 psi pressure per square inch. That is a lot of force. And we'll be talking about them a little bit more. This is another, Ruppel's griffon vulture. Looks like an immature. The beak hasn't really turned. Miss Hart Jumbo, and thank you for your questions. For your question, do lions eat hyenas? I've never seen lion eat hyena, but I have seen a lion kill hyena, and there are prides and males that are historically known for killing hyena. He has decided to take a picnic and go eat it at leisure, quite some distance. Yeah, very much like me, sometimes I like eating in privacy. He's taken his picnic and is off, and now the dining table is open for everybody, free for all. Coming from anywhere, there is no table manners here. Eat as much as possible, as quickly as possible. So, they're quite busy. So, Miss Hart, lions don't eat hyenas, but they will kill them. I'm going to stay here for a little bit. Let's take you somewhere else.
So like I said earlier, in these clearings you always find zebra, wildebeest and impala to form. Here they are. You notice majority of the zebra are still lying down because it's so windy. It's safer to actually chain one spot, especially with it being clear all around them. So you can see predators from far away. But if they start moving around towards thicker vegetation, it's easier for predators to sneak up on them. So I think the zebra aren't really going to move around too much today and spend majority of their time here. Though there is lots of food, lots of grass here for them to eat. That one just having a nice little scratch. Actually looking so beautiful in the light now. Very contrasting black and white colors to the green that's behind them. See, that one's also going to lie now. Definitely sleeping late, and what a day for it. The wind is picking up quite nicely now. One of the main reasons we stopped here is there's a red-crested cron. There's a male red-crested cron here that clicks away every now and then starts whistling. So I'm kind of waiting on hoping that he'll do his display. What he'll do is he clicks, then starts whistling. And then they usually fly up to about 30 meters in the air, and then they drop back down. And just before hitting the ground, he'll open up his wings. So I'm kind of waiting for that. Clicking has started again. No, he stopped. Oh, there he goes, the whistling. So the male would do this in a territorial display, and he also do this to attract females. So quite a daring move. The zebras all going back down to sleep now. We're going to continue on, going back up north now towards the Timbavati River.
Oh, some lovely zebras. Another really pretty pattern out in the bush, like the rosettes of a leopard. We haven't heard the lion calling again, which is a good thing, I suppose. Always interesting to see how they'd interact. But it's good that they're nice and safe. The sun has come out, it's warmed up just a little bit. And this boy has not stopped tucking in. It looks so relaxing, so peaceful. Emma, you'd like to know if leopards eat leopards? Thank you so much for your question, Emma. The answer is a little bit gruesome. They can eat other leopards, has happened before, but they won't go out hunting for a leopard. But if the leopards get into a fight and one leopard kills the other one, then sometimes that leopard will eat the leopard that it's killed. But they won't go out looking for a leopard to eat. But if they're in a fight and they kill a leopard, they will eat it, or most likely eat a little bit of it. And it has happened before. Sometimes it happens because the animal is in a bit of a frenzy. Because it's not, the flesh of a predator can be quite toxic because there's a buildup of quite a lot of toxins besides the fact that there's lots of protein. And there's a few problems with cannibalism. I mean, apart from the obvious social ones. Firstly, if you're looking at the nutrient profile, if you eat something that is just like you, then you will be eating the perfect amount of meat, nutrients. You'll be getting the perfect amount of potassium, perfect amount of minerals, perfect amounts of calcium, all that stuff. Requirement of you as a leopard. If you eat another leopard, you're getting that exact correct nutrient profile requirement. And in that sense, you are fitting all your nutritional needs in one go. However, that also means that for everything that you are deficient in as a cat, for everything that you can easily pick up, for any disease, for any infection that you can get specifically as a leopard, you're more likely to get it from eating another leopard because that profile matches identically too. Gruesome stuff, but also just the way it is, really. Jolly Whiskey, you had another question. I was busy talking about cannibalism, and then I heard your name, Johnny Whiskey, Jolly Whiskey. I'll get your question again in a bit. FC will send it through. I think it had something to do about when this boy will start hunting on his own. There we go. At what age will Tandi's cub be able to hunt? It'll be able to hunt by about a year. He'll be able to hunt on his own. That's when Kalamba started to hunt on her own quite early on. Just take small things. Scrub hares, mongoose, just play with them quite a lot as well, squirrels. But he'll still hang around. She won't just suddenly go away. They'll still be in similar areas until he disperses fully. But he'll start to play around, he'll start to play pounce and stuff like that. He would already be doing that, actually. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if he's made a few kills, or if leopards this age make kills, because we only see them for a small part of the day, a small portion of their lives, really. What about little birds and other things that they can play with and pounce on? They will do that. It's just that the guidance that they get for what is good for them to eat and what is not, comes from the parent. So if it sees the mother taking a scrub hare, and he's definitely eaten scrub hare before, we saw Tandy taking a scrub hare to him, then he'll see a scrub hare, pounce on it, like, oh yeah, I can eat this. Maybe there's a big giant millipede, and he wants to play with it, which he'll play, and he'll pounce and all of that, and swat at it. But he's not seen Tandy eat those. So he might play, he might kill it, but he might not eat it. Like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if he's already made little kills. Oh, the sun has escaped again. I hope it'll come out and warm me up, and I'm going to try and see if we can reposition just as soon as there's a little bit more space and the other vehicles have moved off.
Yes, good luck driving around that area. There are a lot of sticks, so be careful. We are standing, obviously, with two zebras. And one of them is fairly alarmed by our presence. The other one couldn't care less. One on the left is utterly disinterested. And here comes another one from the right, just checking us out. And the reason that they're allowing us to be here, and they're not too phased, is that we're pretty far away. We're about, what would you say, 60 meters, BK? Plus minus from them. And that is well outside of the flight distance. Yes? And there's another little animal quite close to us. I don't know if you can see it, BK, but there's a little bee eater. You got it. It'll go back there. Shoop. There it goes. Oh, they're so cute. They're great fun birds to photograph, those, because they will come back to the same perch. And so you can get them landing if you spend a bit of time with them and are a bit patient, which is quite unusual. Now we're just going to check if my mouth is moving at the same time as the sound is reaching your ears. I hope it is. Very blustery, windy day. Jacinta, they do clean each other to a certain extent, not extensively like a leopardess might clean her cub, or like a lion might clean a member of the pride. Remember that leopards do that and lions do that, the big cats do that, in order to, I think, reduce the stink of guts on them. Animals that don't worry about approaching their prey, such as wild dogs or hyenas, that they hunt visually, and they're coursing predators, don't clean each other nearly as much. Zebras do it possibly for social bonding, and also to help each other with ectoparasites. Now, I say help each other as if it's some kind of conscious decision on each member's part to help the other. I think it probably has the benefit of getting rid of one or two ectoparasites. I'm not sure how effective it is, though. And so it's probably largely for social bonding within the little kinship group. So for a totally different reason than it would occur in, say, leopards or tigers, similar in some respects to that in a lion pride. James, Debbie, I do hope that the zebra will not charge at us. I think if it does, I'm quite pleased that BK is encumbered with a heavy pack. And so, although he is younger than me, I think I will be able to outrun him because he is encumbered by this heavy pack. And all I'd have to do is stay in front of him for long enough for the zebra to catch him, and then I'd be fine. So as long as he is unable to drop the pack faster than I can get away from him, then I should be fine. So please don't worry about my safety. No, it is very, very unlikely that the zebras would charge us. In fact, I would say that the chances are vanishingly small. They are much more likely to run away. So they're outside of the flight distance. If I close this distance by probably as little as 10 to 20 meters, they'll just move away. And if we keep doing it, they'll start to show alarm, they'll pick their heads up, they'll watch us, they'll look what's going on, make sure that they can keep us in sight, and eventually, if we got close enough, they'd just run. Zebras will, however, beat each other up, and they will beat predators up. So if you got very close, let's say I snuck up on a zebra, and I was really good at sneaking, and I gave it a big fright, and I was behind a bush very close by, the chances are it would turn and try and kick me or bite me. But I would have to be very, very close, and I would have to give it a serious fright for it to engage in a physical combat situation rather than just using its best weapon, which is explosive speed. They are very fast off the mark. They've got those very powerful hind quarters, and they use those to good effect when running away from things. And remember that although we see these animals getting nailed by lions, especially in the Mara, if you go to the Mara, every time I hear an update on the radio from the Mara, something or other is eating a carcass of normally a wildebeest or a zebra. The sheer weight of numbers of wildebeest and zebra there mean that, well, they are going to be the animals eaten most often. Remember, 60% of them die. 60% of animals that die during the migration die of entirely non-predatory causes. And so, it's not like these things are helpless victims in the face of an onslaught from the predators. Most of them will escape, and in fact, they've got to be pretty unlucky to be taken out by a predator. The other interesting thing to note in this particular sighting is that I'm talking loudly now. I'm talking totally normally, and the zebras are totally unaffected by the sound of my voice, and that's because they've seen us, they know where we are, and in fact, my speaking at this volume keeps them completely conscious of where I am, despite the fact that they've turned their backs on us.
I don't know where we are right now. I'm not lost, I'm just temporarily disorientated. It's definitely not Tswalu that we're at the moment. But just look how different this is, folks. Unbelievable. Really beautiful. A really nice spot for birding. And as well as hoofed ungulates. And as well as carnivores. Coming to this little annual pan that holds water for quite a long time because of the sediment that's found out here in the west. Creates this nice almost layer to stop the water from seeping through. If you think about the Kalahari sands, it's fairly porous, so water flows through the Kalahari sands itself fairly quickly. But really amazing to be at a spot like this with algae build-up. Those reeds that you saw in frame, there's a reed called bulrush. Very beautiful. Gives the landscape a flush of green. Beautiful sandgrass flying overhead. You can hear Busy calling. And we've got a few on the other end. We're going to show you now. Just shows you the diversity of Tswalu and how things change. There we go. Beautiful sandgrass. So the male, the one in the central part of the picture, these are Namakwa sandgrass. The male has that uniform head and chest, and then just before the breast and belly section, it has this beautiful double band. And then the females are the ones that are a little more cryptically coloured. Ringneck dove there on the bottom right-hand corner. But just really lovely birds to see. And they're all coming to get a drink at this life-giving point. Oh, look at that one displaying. Male trying to impress a female, it looked like it. So obviously coming down to a watering hole like this is not only for a drink, but also a perfect time to do a little socializing. They do form monogamous pairs. But yeah, just a little bit of socializing with other individuals was never a bad thing. But how incredible. And so where we started, those large dark birds that we saw at the edge of those reeds, those were red-knobbed coots, a very prominent water bird or waterfowl found within South Africa. And through the breeding season, some big pans, you can find up to 1,000 plus birds at a time. There's another one coming into frame now in the middle. And these guys eat vegetation, a lot of plant material. Ha ha, look at that. That's not a red-knobbed coot. Very nice. That bird you're seeing in picture is a common moorhen. You can see from the red part of the beak with a little bit of yellow at the tip. It's got a big red frontal shield, nice yellow legs, and then that beautiful uniform dark pattern on the body with that white and black tail. But that cocking, flicking action of its tail is very distinctive of this bird. Really nice. We didn't actually see this bird when he first got down. Look at the legs, look at the feet. So especially adapted to walk through these muddy, swampy environments, splaying out your body weight. Common moorhen, just watch the feet. Look at that. Extremely large. Same as the red-knobbed coot, it would have a large splayed out foot and like bulbous sections on its toes to aid it in walking in these muddy environments. Also along reeds or algae where its weight can be splayed out or evenly distributed. What a beautiful bird. Boop. Really nice. So these reeds plus the food material here, or food matter, creates a perfect environment for a bird like this. So that was the common moorhen. And then at the bottom there we got the blacksmith lapwing, another nice bird that we've seen on a continuous basis, going for little aquatic insects. Obviously a nice advantage of having longer legs that you can wade into the water. And what the bird will be doing is then picking with its beak, picking up aquatic insects. Beautiful.
Does the water come from underground?
Oh, does the water come from underground? This would actually be water that's been caught by the rain. It's coming to the very end of it now. Sorry, good question there. Does the water come from underground? Not this section. This would be from rains that have basically lasted until now. And this is why this area is such an important source of water for a lot of animals within the drier western regions. But really amazing to come out here early morning, have a coffee, watch the sandgrass come in. And then we have recorded a few rarities out here. Also things like tern. We get a white-winged tern that comes over here almost on a yearly basis. So for a big bird, just to see a tern in an environment like this, not uncommon, but really nice to see on Tswalu. Don't see it on a day-to-day basis. But we're going to send you off to another safari location, and we'll see you shortly.
From the common moorhen to a raptor here in the bush. Seems like this raptor is on a morning hunt, searching or looking for prey. We just saw in the morning very nice activity of the Serval cat where he caught a mouse, and this is probably what this bird is looking for. Now I'm going to ask the viewers the name of this bird, very commonly seen raptor. See if someone will just answer the name of this raptor. For a question and comment, #WildEarth on the YouTube comment section at FC. For young viewers, kids question at wildearth.tv. Bianca, that was an easy one. Thank you so much. Thank you for your answer. Yes, that's a long-crested eagle, very solitary, and they mark their territory about a radius of about 1 kilometer square. So, Very, very interesting. And these birds will be always solitary. Sometimes they mark a big territory, about 1 kilometer square. And if there is no food, they'll walk or fly to another territory. Intruders are not tolerated. They'll be fought off. And very, very interesting. Thank you, Bianca, for your question, for your answer, rather. I like the way he's scanning around. Seems like because it's still cool, lots of mouse are active on the ground. Some lizards, even snakes, will fall prey to this raptor. Looks like wants to move, or maybe changing position. Seems like wants to fly off, or maybe getting a little bit of a balance to scan a different area. These raptors have very sharp eyes, and any movement in the grass will be detected, and they'll hover off above the movement detected and then dive to catch the prey. The way the wind is blowing on his crest. Look at that. So I'll leave this bird to go about his hunting as I carry on to look for something else. Remember, we're coming to you live from other different locations in Africa, so you're going to jump into one of our safari vehicles.
Oh, Tim, that sounds like a great idea. In fact, we might do something similar here. Do another segment with you guys, and then make some space for other people to come in, go check out the hyena den, and then come back. It's not too busy. So I think that would be nice to do. Tomorrow afternoon will be mine and James' last drive for this stint. So I need to see everybody before we go. Unfortunately, Fernando seems to have moved house. Fernando's the chameleon, everyone. Fernando seems to have moved house, which is unfortunate because I would have liked to see him before I left. We'll just have to go chameleon looking this evening. Look at this boy go. Dwaltandi has finally made it over him and to the other side of the branch. Jackie, you'd like to know if they'll still know each other after they disperse? Yes. It's a difficult thing to kind of experiment with or to get results with, because how do you measure familiarity? But from my experience, looking at leopards, watching them, reading about them, reading about sightings, all of that, I can say yes. They will know each other. They may not like each other. They may not like or be tolerant of each other. But I am quite sure that they recognize their kin. But who knows how? who knows if they even recognize where they know them from. You know, sometimes you see people and you're like, oh, I know them. Definitely know them. But I don't know where I know them from. Maybe it's like this. Maybe they know exactly that they have a memory from childhood or from motherhood. Or whatever it is, I'm sure they recognize each other. Before I started working out in the bush, I never thought. It was always written quite clearly, leopards are solitary, leopards do not interact. And then I came here, and within the first few days I saw Tingana in a tree with a kill, Hosanna rolling about and napping underneath in some elephant dung, and Thandi walking by every now and then to see if she could get some scraps. I've seen Hosanna following Tlalamba around. Tingana and Tlalamba often together. I am sure they recognize each other. All right, well, we're going to leave them just for a little bit, check what's happening at the den, and then we'll come right back out here.
Call him. Maybe that's
Yes, I think come right back is the correct approach there. We are standing with some wildebeests and some impala. Now, we were talking about animals that cop it badly from predators in this part of the world. The impala are the ones here that provide the bulk of the nutrition to the lions. Even these wildebeest, despite the fact that they are the perfect-sized meal for the Nkuhuma pride and relatively easy to catch compared with something like a buffalo, they don't get eaten very much. Yes, they lose one or two of their number, but they don't get eaten very much. Now, I told Gwyn, who's directing today, that she better come to us quickly because I really didn't think that these wildebeest were going to stand. I see now that most of them are lying down to have a sleep. So, Gwyn, my apologies. I was talking utter garbage, as you can see. Most of them are lying down to have a sleep, so good. My apologies, I was talking utter garbage, as you can see.
Well, here we are. I have some giraffe that I've got a really tiny one, almost, I think, 1 week. Just take a look at that little guy and see he's got his umbilical cord. Looks like, it's just dropped. Could be, just looks like it's a few days old. This one, maybe 3-4 days. Quite young, but he's already learning how to nibble on what he's going to be feeding on for the rest of his life or her life. It is quite hard to tell the gender when they're this young, but that bush is very, very favored by giraffes. It's one of the Mairua plants and they love it. They're not actually eating the actual twig, they're just pulling and plucking the leaves that are high in nutrition. And giraffes are browsers, they feed on leaves. Every now and then when they reach down to feed on low browse, they might pull out some grass, but they feed on browse. These are two that are not fully grown. The one to the right, I would say she's a young female, maybe about a year and a half, maybe a previous calf from the mother of this young guy to the left. So it could be actually the brother or the sister. That is the view, the amazing view that you always get to see on this flat open grassland of the Masai Mara. And I think that is one of the mothers of the giraffes, and behind it is a very big bull. Remember, they're quite a distance, but we're able to zoom and bring them closer to you so we can really enjoy them. Yeah, this is a big bull, quite aged. Can tell the neck is not as straight as supposed to. It happens as they age. Also, some bony. The pelvis, you can say it's getting a bit bony. So yeah, it's quite an old guy, I would say. They live for about 25 years. This is an animal that is constantly eating. They can they can sleep for just half an hour in a whole day. So for 23.5 hours of a day, they would be browsing. That is a lot of eating. Well, and to satisfy that body, you need to be constantly eating. Well, remember to talk to us, #WildEarth. Question, comments are really, really welcome. There's a very good comparison when they're that close to one another. On the horns, look at the left-hand side one. You can tell that they have like airbrush on top. That's how they look. The one to the right are very bare, and that's due to the constant rubbing when they are fighting, so they eventually wear off those hairy tufts on the males. The one to the right, you can see that, and very nice side profile. You can see the pointy muzzle, so that they're able to get in through those bushes without really pushing the bushes away. Well, I'm going to leave you to enjoy this for a little bit before I move on, while we take you somewhere in a different location.
We just got onto the road and just left Tandy and little one. And then we found this lovely herd. It's the half-ear cow, one-tusk cow's herd. She's just on the other side of that mound. Aren't we so lucky? We can go see a leopard, turn the corner, and you have a herd of elephants. I wonder if you can hear his breath. Hear him breathing out. Hello, boy. Oh, he's got his foot stuck. Ouch. Hello, big boy. Looks like you're hurt a little bit on your trunk. Are you coming to say hi to him, Paul? So peacefully eating. These sounds are just magnificent. He's eating right by the vehicle behind us. That's what you're hearing. Hi. Hey. No. He's trying to touch the aerial. Hey. Hey. Hello. anxiety. I'd like to know if this makes me anxious. It does a little bit. Especially when they try to touch the vehicle. You want to make sure that they don't do that. Because they can also, we don't know how they're feeling today. We don't know if they've had a bad day. But then you also don't want to make sudden movements, and you definitely don't want to start the vehicle up when they're close by, because that's quite dangerous. That may scare them. And then you're in for some trouble. Apart from that, it will teach them to chase vehicles. And lots of animals that chase vehicles, it's basically a bit of a death sentence for them, because in lodges and things like that where they get aggravated with vehicles, so they feel that they can chase them. Some places they get sometimes get put down for that reason, and we don't want them to get into that kind of behavior, because it's basically a death sentence for them. But you also read their behavior. He came all the way from there directly to the car. Well, not directly, but feeding along. He was calm and relaxed. Nothing about him gave any signs of aggravation or that he was not happy with our presence. He came to us, and that's the best elephant sighting, because then you can easily read them, and you know that you're not imposing on them. You're not coming into their space and giving them no other choice but to just get straight into them, you know. And that's what I like to do. I like to hang back just a little bit and let them decide whether they want to come to us. And I've been fortunate that lots of elephant sightings, elephants have decided to come up and say hello, and do so in a really calm, relaxed manner. It also helps if you are calm and relaxed. And when I first started off, then I used to get anxious when an elephant would come close. And it's important to maintain that, because you don't want to become complacent. Definitely not. But also remember that with wild animals, they don't just suddenly turn on you. There's lots of behavior that happens before an animal decides that it's going to charge you. That's if you can see it, because sometimes you may not see the elephant in the bush. You may not see that it's displaying to you, and all you see is something running through the bush. That's why you've also always got to be careful, but also be calm and relaxed, and really watch the animal and kind of feel them. With elephants, you can do that really easily. And now this guy, he tried to touch our aerial. He opened the end of his trunk towards him while he was filming. Trying to talk to him. And carrying on eating. I'm just curious. But it's important to be able to know what that looks like and what it looks like when they're not just curious.
Welcome back to Tswalu Kalahari. Beautiful little three-banded plover here in view. This is the only plover, in the region that has this double black breast band that you can see there in view. It's also got a nice reddish tinge to its beak. Very beautiful little species of wader. And you can find them fairly commonly within the area, but they also do make very large-scale movements in response to rain. You can find them in muddy environments like this, so open or freshwater environments like we are at now, or along the shoreline. You can also find them near the coast, in the lagoons or estuaries. You could find this beautiful little species of bird. Really a stunning colour and pattern for such a tiny little bird. It's only weighing at about 30-odd grams, so very small bird. Got a lot of sandgrass coming into the water now for a drink. And look how small that bird is. Wow. So we've got Namakwa sandgrass and as well as Burchell's. Jane, are there research projects being done about birds on Tswalu? Yes. We have been running extensive studies on birds such as the sociable weavers and as well as the white-browed sparrow weaver. Tswalu, in conjunction with other partners, have accumulated some tantalizing and uncovered some incredible information about these birds, their biology, their social structure and arrangement. It is truly remarkable how much research comes out Tswalu Foundation. And if you're ever interested, I have mentioned before, I think, if you're ever interested to see how much research we are doing, go take a look at tswalufoundation.org. You'll be blown away by the information that has been accumulated on this property. And that's all in the drive, because the better we can understand, the better we can protect. And we are now also a protected area for vultures. Oh, beautiful. Namakwa sandgrass taking off. Beautiful calls. Tswalu is also a protected area for vultures. It's the first protected reserve or protected area for vultures in Africa. So everything we do, we think on the lines of sustaining and creating habitats and a safe environment for these species, which are under quite a lot of threat at the moment. So everything we do is in order to protect species like vulture, but then we also have done extensive work with species like sociable weaver and white-browed sparrow weaver. Really nice to see these birds coming into the pan. The constant noise, and I mean they are just in and out here. Flocks of 5 up to about 10 coming in, landing, drinking, and then poof, gone. And they can make treks of up to 30-40 kilometers, if not maybe a bit more, in search of water, to come for a drink and then head back to their spot that they'll rest throughout the midday period. Oh, beautiful sound. So those are a lot of namakwa, male and female. So these species tend to come early morning and then also earlier in the late afternoon period. And then you have another species called the double-banded, which would actually come on the onset of dusk. Just before it's about to hit nightfall, your double-banded sandgrass will come into the watering hole. Wow, look at that. Incredible. Oh my word. Can you guys hear them calling? I like to think about when they see water, that's what they're saying. Oh my word. Oh my word. We're going to send you off to another safari location and we'll see you shortly.
So here in the Mara, we've come across Lioness on her own. She's walking the long grass and she's walking super fast. Seems like she's either catching up with the rest of the pride or maybe she's on a hunting mission. She's been following a scent trail where she's been sniffing around and walking around the bushes. So I'm just going to follow her and see where she's going to. If maybe she'll lead us to a pride or something else. Normally when these cats are on the move, walking from one side of their territory to another, they'll be walking in a fast pace. Look at how she's walking. Just almost going behind the bushes there. So I'm going just to follow her and keep her in sight to see where she leads us. Sometimes in these bushes we have reedbucks and other antelopes that will hide because it's warming up, and as she's walking she might end up flushing some of them out and we might see a possible hunt. So let's follow and see where this lioness will take us. Look at this. I can't even tell if there's a lion walking. So sometimes when you're driving around, you're always so keen to look around bushes and in the long grasses. As I carry on following our lioness here, we're going to see if she might end up hunting, take us to our den, or maybe lead us to another lion pride. So let's find out as we slowly drive and follow. She keeps on stopping to scan around. So this is ideally looking for prey. She's up on a termite mound. So I'm just going to keep an eye on her and see what's going to happen. Seems like she's on a hunting mode, scanning out. So as I wait and follow this lioness, let's take you over to another safari vehicle.
I believe in you, Tim. You will make it happen. You have before. I believe in you 110%, my friend. It's a very nice view Glenn is giving us here of the red-knobbed coot. Very prominent waterfowl that's seen through South Africa. They do tend to be around the wetter regions, but pans like this, which hold water for long periods of time, is a perfect spot for them to actively breed. And that is an adult that you have in frame, busy eating that algae buildup. So they eat vegetation, mainly plant material of various sorts, but then also occasionally they'll take in insects, aquatic insects, and then as I have read before, also seeds. And then Glenn's going to give you a view on their little ones. There's their little ones. You can see on the right-hand side there. There we go. That is a juvenile. So these coots actively bred here. And it's a perfect spot for them to hide and create a nest within this reedy vegetation. They create a platform, actually a floating nest or a mound of vegetation is what's created, and these birds will actively lay the eggs on this floating mound of vegetation. But you can see from the coloration that's being displayed here that this is not an adult. So it's still busy going through its juvenile stages. And there's 3 of them here. Oh, Glenn, quick, yo, look how many there are. Oh, look at all these sandgrass guys. Oh, my word. Consulting detective, do those coots nest on the ground? It would be a nest, a floating nest, or a floating mound of vegetation that's created in the water. That's obviously for a safety aspect from predators. Look how many sandgrass are coming into this pan now, folks. Oh, my word. Wow, look at that. Quick touchdown. Drink, drink, drink. Hopefully we can see them wetting their breast feathers. That's a Burchell's in front and then an Amakwa at the back. But now these flocks have increased in size. These are about 10 to 20 birds plus that are coming in. Glenn, look at this. Glenn's getting this for us, guys. Look at that. Oh, wow. Oh, my word. Okay, so this is a mix of Burchell's and as well as Namakwa. And gone. Wow. Whoa.
Incoming.
Yeah, incoming. Flight control. Can I do a low flyby? They came right over us. So you can see how quickly they come in here. They get a quick scoop or 2 of water and they are out. More Burchell's. You can see the grey facial markings. These are Burchell's over here. Males with the grey facial markings and the females with the yellowy facial shield around the eye. very strong flyers. You can see from their wing beats that they're really pushing themselves through the air. Quite a brisk pace. But this is the fantastic thing about being at this pan through this time. 2-3 hours after sunrise, this is when these birds will come into this pan in order to get a drink. Here comes another flock to the left of them. Touchdown. Wow. Sure, Glenn, doing a great job here. Because there's just so many, it's hard to pinpoint which group you're going to go for. Here comes another flock. Look at this. You can see how they're scooping water, picking the head up, and allowing that water then to go down. Cheesy Wheeler, what are the chances of a crocodile in one of these pans? Unfortunately, 0. These pans aren't productive enough to support crocodiles. Crocodiles we would find towards a Durban area, so there's a beautiful and one of our World Heritage sites, a place called Isimangaliso Wetlands, and you'll start having the Nile crocodile occurring within that area going up north along the country. This western section, we don't unfortunately have the requirements to support that beautiful and large reptile. Really remarkable creature. It gives me goosebumps. I've never had the pleasure of actually seeing and watching crocodiles, but the guys in the Masai, it's got to be such a spectacular thing to see, because they are in every way designed to survive very long periods. Their behavior and how they change depending on the year, time of the year, is remarkable, and it's an animal that has remained unchanged for a very long time, eons. Well, not eons, but millions of years. It's so perfectly suited to its environment. Its behavior is perfectly suited to ensure that it survives. It's a really remarkable reptile. So unfortunately, no crocodiles here, unless I put my crocodile suit on. But I won't be a good-looking crocodile, quite a chubby one. We're going to send you off to another safari location.
Shame, Carl. I think you're being a little bit hard on yourself. Anyways, we are sitting here at Pridelands looking at some holes in the ground and a very moody sky with lots and lots of wind. My name is Taylor McCurdy, and on camera with me, as usual, is Sebastian Romby. Sorry, Seb. And we're very excited to be out here today because we've seen nothing. Well, we have seen things, but we haven't had signal, unfortunately. So we've decided to come and sit at the hyena den and to see what's happening. But, unfortunately, nothing. Absolutely nothing. But I suppose this was maybe at one point a termite mound where an aardvark perhaps burrowed on in to live inside there, but it's now been taken over by hyenas and warthogs, which are not here. But you know what we will do, Sebastian? We'll look at the most riveting content that we have here. We're going to take a moment of silence, and we're going to watch the grass blow in the wind. Fantastic stuff, that is. This is really, really awesome. I could honestly watch this all day long. It's the most amazing thing. Not even a little insect to look at, unfortunately. Emily, my favorite part of my job is watching the grass blow in the wind. That's the best thing that I think that you could probably do on safari, is appreciating the smaller things. I really like the sound when the wind rustles through the grass. I actually prefer it when the wind rustles the dry leaves, so sort of just before winter arrives and the leaves will start to change color. That's also quite nice. Emily, I like lots of things about safari. I like being out in the wilderness. It doesn't particularly bother me when I don't have any animals to look at. I know some of of you watching it would probably prefer to be looking at animals. We were just watching Vegetation blow in the wind now. That's very nice camera work, Sebastian. And yeah, so it's one of my favorite things is actually just driving around and not seeing a road, not seeing a power line, not seeing another vehicle, because there are very few places in the world that you're able to do that. And I think most city folk or city dwellers probably don't even know what that is like. So I think that's one of my favorite things. But then I also enjoy being surrounded by elephants. We did find Susan's herd this morning, but unfortunately they were not, they were cooperating. The signal, however, was not cooperating, but this just seems to be the story of our lives. But yes, those are the holes in the ground where the animals live, but they're not here. Katie. What inspired me? Wait, did you say what inspired me to become a safari guide, or what training did I undergo? Sorry, I didn't hear that because the wind. See, the wind is now not so nice because I can't hear the questions correctly. Oh, what training? There we go. Well, funny enough, Katie, I work for this fantastic company called Eco Training, because this is where one of the eco training locations or training facilities are here at Prrivate, which is part of Tswalu Game Reserve. So there's many different ways to become a guide, but the best way to become a guide is to actually go to an accredited training facility where they will teach you theoretically and practically the ins and outs of becoming a safari guide. This is, of course, very basic stuff, because becoming a safari guide is not something that you can just learn in a year or in 2 months or anything like that. It takes years and years and years of experience and, of course, observing wildlife, because things that are written in the books not necessarily what the animals will actually do. So the best way to learn is be out in the bush. But yeah, there's many different training providers out there. Eco Training is quite fortunate to have lots of different locations. So like I said, we've got here part of the Greater Kruger, and then if you go up to Northern Kruger, there's a concession called Makuleki. It's really pretty, really amazing to do walking up there in the big fever tree forests. Then we also train students at Karongwe and Salati Game Reserve, and even courses running right now in East Africa in not quite the Masai Mara, but another area called Nonkishu, which is quite cool. So there's lots of different places you can go to become a safari guide. Obviously, Kenya's qualifications are very different, but so you don't need your Field Guides Association of Southern Africa, aka FAGASA, to guide up there. But we do the FAGASA training. So yeah, in short. But I'm sure that you can do lots of Googling and you can figure it all out. But yeah, all the guides have got very interesting stories to tell about how and why and where they became safari guides.
Welcome back to the Mara. We are still trailing our lioness. She seems like she is on a hunting mission. She keeps on sniffing the ground, trying to follow a scent trail, going up on a termite mound, scan the area, and carry on. I hope she'll get to something. Whatever her mission is, I hope it becomes successful. So here we have about two prides that coexist around this area. We have the Owino, and sometimes they overlap and come to the Mugoro. And I'm suspecting this lioness is from the Mugoro pride, and where she's headed is to where the rest of the pride are. So I'm still going to follow slowly. If she ends up to the pride area, that would be nice. And also, if she ends up finding game, hunting, that will also some exciting thing. So let me just follow her slowly and see what her mission is. There's lots of flies. trailing her slowly. I'm not going to leave her until she takes her to where she's going. So I'm going to send you over to another safari vehicle.
I hope you folks are ready for the amount of activity that is coming in and out of this watering hole. Oh, word. Incredible. The amount of birds is just remarkable. Wow. And those are flocks. So there are that flocks of 50 plus easily. And if you're into photography, laying at the water's edge and getting these birds come down and cranking up that shutter speed as fast as it can go to capture these beautiful still frames of these birds taking off from the water is just on another level. Phew. Can you hear them flying over us now? Can even hear the wing beats. Beautiful. So some of them Muscular, yes, it is definitely from a predator point of view. This is where falcons or raptors, let's say that, especially your quicker flying raptors, would come in from quite a height, and this is when you are at your most vulnerable. Same as an antelope coming for a drink. There's an area which we refer to as a blind spot, and when you're coming in for a drink like this, here comes a warthog as well. When you're coming in for a drink like this is a perfect opportunity because you are kept busy. And this opportunity can be seized by a raptor. So raptors would come in from quite a height, see how these birds are coming into this watering hole, and then just take this extremely sharp and quick dive. And as these birds take off, this bird will align itself just to boom, hit them on impact. So you want to be in here and out of here as quick as possible. Wow. First warthog I think we've seen in a couple of days. He's also thirsty. So looking at his face, or her face, we can actually see if it's a male or female by the number of warts that it has on its face. Hence the name warthog. You can see that nice prominent set under the eyes. And then I just go and see. So males will have two sets. So one set under the eyes and then another set just behind the tusks. And then a female will only have one set of warts. So it looks to be like a little female from here. I just can't see. I don't have my binos on me. But such a beautiful animal. We just need a meerkat in view now. It'll be the perfect scene. Look at that. Oh. And now, buddy. Little antenna, getting good signal. So look at how when the warthog runs, the tail is erect, and as soon as he starts to slow down, and if he stops, you're going to see it's an automatic response that the tail drops as soon as he stops, and that's because the skin. Look at that. That's because the skin is so tight around the little animal that when it runs, the skin is then stretched or tightened around the body, pulling the tail up automatically. And as soon as he stops and relaxes, the skin loosens and the tail drops. Very incredible. So as he runs, that's a visual representative. Listen to this. Oh. So I said earlier, I think that this is one of my favorite things to do on Tswalu. Early morning coffee. Sit here and appreciate this immense amount of life coming into this pan. It is really something super special. Dr. Arthropod, the bird that has the largest flocks, I'd have to say, is our sociable weaver. These birds here only flock like this when they're in flight, but staying together in a nice large flock would be the sociable weavers. You can have 50 to 80 and 100 birds moving at once in unison. It almost looks like they've got a common understanding on how to move. It's like they're a live organism, one unit moving. It's quite spectacular to see. But these birds just join up from far and wide, and they fly to these water points. They come and land, and then once they've had their drink, they fly out and they start distributing again. They'll have their own little spots. They'll start branching off, breaking off, landing, and then continue the day's business. So in terms of flocks, birds continually in a group would definitely be that sociable weaver that we have here on Tswalu. And it's warming up quite quickly now. I can feel the sun on my back getting hotter and hotter and hotter. So this little drink that these birds are having is a very important push through for the day. Obviously water is a very important necessity. Okay, we're going to send you another location and we'll see you a little bit later.
Welcome back to the Mara. We're still trailing our lioness, and she's come to a spot where there's wildebeest and a few topies. Unfortunately, the topies have already seen her, so it will be a little bit tricky and hard for her to get closer to those wildebeest there. Because as soon as she tries to get a little bit closer, the topies will come, follow and warn the zebras, the wildebeest, as they normally snort, which is an alarm call, and that will make these wildebeest aware of the lioness. Some of them are lying down actually, so it's going to be a little bit of patience before she gets to where they are. Unfortunately, the top is there. You can see the lioness because it's a short grass area and not much cover, so she's hiding behind that bush where she cannot be seen by the wildebeest, but unfortunately on her right side she's too exposed. The topies can see her. So when predators are seen by the prey, they ignore the pursuit. But if she stays there for a little while, these topies might ignore. Look at how curious that topi is. That shows that she's already seen the lion. Sometimes if it's not too comfortable or comfort zone is not within their radius, they'll walk away to a comfort zone. But sometimes they have to get too close, or maybe where they can be able to see these predators. Remember, predators use the element of surprise. So until this lioness is out of their sight, that's when they'll be able to go away. But at the moment, it seems like it's too open, it's too exposed, so they cannot see the lioness. So the trick they have to play is to ignore, and when the prey looks and watches this lion and see that she has ignored, they'll also ignore and go away. But if it looks too curious, then the topies will have to come a little bit closer, and that will prompt them to snort, which will alert other prey within this area. She's trying to figure out how she can surprise the wildebeest, who seems to be a distance away from her, without being noticed by these topies. You can see the wildebeest are running now, which is another way of being intercepted by the lion. So it seems like she's got an attention there, Look at how she's watching while she's walking. Stalking game is on. So when they're running in a single file, it's easy for these lions to cut across. So let's see if she's going to use that trick. She's now lying down on the ground as the wildebeest walk past. She's watching for the last one, because sometimes the last ones are the ones that get targeted. The ones that are on the fringes of the herds sometimes are not aware of danger, and they're the ones that are picked as targets. They've already not seen this lioness, but they're suspecting because they're watching the toppies, who look so keen and concentrating on that direction. But some are really grazing, like the one actually on the front. It's open grass, very short grass there, so it's going to be a little bit hard for her to creep and get closer, unless one of them makes a mistake to come a little bit forward or maybe turns away on the other direction, because the wind is actually on her advantage. They can't get her scent. She's watching over if these other herds coming in. Seems like not. All of them are stopped. Not quite sure what's happening because the toppies are actually staring that direction. Okay, she's closing the gap. Oh, already detected. So that's going to be a failed attempt. How many more until she's successful? So I'll still carry on, follow her, see if she might be lucky. So interesting to watch such kind of a behavior, because sometimes this plains game never see the lions because of how they blend in the long grass. So still carrying on with my mission as I take you over to another safari vehicle.
Well, here I am after driving around and going around like a chicken without a head, looking for lions. And I haven't found any. I'm glad, team and the rest of my team have showed you some. But I've come across this beautiful location, and I can see some elephants from quite a distance away. And it is just beautiful, beautiful, as you can see. Apologies for that noise. It's the rare spotted Land Cruiser. Yes, these are elephants that are quite a distance from me, but it's a beautiful, lovely setting they are in, enjoying what they do best, munch, 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 eating. Yeah, that's what, they're doing over there. It's a good size herd that are spread out amongst the trees. That is an area we normally or rarely go to because the access is very difficult. But from where I am, I'm quite raised higher so I can see. And with a zoom from our camera, we can see that. Looks like the one to the right is quite an old, big female. Looks like she's a matriarch. And she has told them, over here, this time of the year, there is this type of shoot or grass, and that's why they're here. She is the mastermind. She is the planner. She is the leader. She is the master lady. And she is the one that tells them, what to do, where to be. Yeah, our African elephants are doing really well all over, Africa. The best place to see elephants, I would say, in Africa is still, Botswana is a very good place. Amboseli in Kenya, if you want to see elephants all around you, is a good place. And also Southern Africa, And also they're making a comeback in Sudan. You cannot imagine, and Chad, they're making a comeback. So, they're really, really doing well. Well, it's not Sudan, as I would say, but Chad, they're doing really, really well. So they are making a comeback. Also Tsavo in Kenya, you can see elephants in the hundreds. Tarangire in Tanzania is a good place to see, many, many elephants. And in Mkomazi, also in Tanzania, you will see plenty of elephants. Of course, here in the Mara, you cannot drive, for more than an hour without seeing some. There are more to the right that Bunge is going to share with you. They are scattered all over that area, and looks like their heads are facing towards the river. So they could be heading towards the marsh, towards the river, for a much needed drink that, they need, because it's warming up. But look at the scene, look at what we have there. It's just beautiful. Lots of green everywhere you look. There's very little, like dryness. So it's such superb scene. Yeah, that is the little forest we call Sanguriai. Yeah. Well, it looks like I'm going to continue on, try and find some cat in the last few minutes remaining. And while I do that, let's take you to another different location.
Welcome back to Tswalu. Still a hive of activity here at this beautiful pan. And Glenn showing off his skill to try and keep up with these fast action birds. So still only those two species, the Bagworm and then the beetles that are coming into the watering hole right now. So I mentioned these birds would do 30-40 kilometers to water. That's one way. You would have them sometimes between 60 and 80 kilometers a round trip. So to water and then obviously back to where they have a spot. And that's incredible, making a trek of 80 kilometers an hour to get some water and then flying back. And some of them are wetting the breast belly feathers, or the belly feathers, and that's to give the little chicks that are sitting somewhere in the veld their first drink of the day. Unfortunately, the chicks can't make their way to water until they can fully have the ability to fly. So the parents actually collect water for them. And we're just trying to see that if we can get a gap or a sighting of one of them actually dabbing the breast or belly feathers. So all scooping, that's for themselves. They won't regurgitate the water for the chicks. There we go, on the right. Watch how that bird's going to bob up and down. There we go, look at that. And gone. So that bird will fly off, and how they find the chick is quite remarkable. They'll land, find the chick, locate the chick obviously via call, and the chick then will come in between those belly feathers and acquire its first drink for the day. The birds breed on the ground, so they make a shallow depression, they lay the eggs, and once those young hatch, they hatch in a physical form referred to as precocial. So that terminology states that the bird will be in a fairly advanced or developed stage physically. So its eyes are open, it's got a set of downies, which are nice, warm, nice fluffy feathers. Its legs are developed, it can move and run, obviously to evade predators, but it cannot get to water. And that's the extremely unique function of those feathers, allowing the parents to hold little droplets and fly off and go give the chick a drink. Remarkable. And just think about you walking 80 kilometers. Think about the bird and how much energy is expending to get to and from water. obviously to stay fueled like that, especially with oxygen. It's the unique lung structure, not unique, but they haven't got a conventional lung system like ourselves, or a pair of lungs. It's multiple air sacs that the bird is able to breathe in. The air sacs are inflated, and these air sacs continuously fuel the body, obviously with the rich oxygen to fuel it to fly these great distances. Oh my word. Oh my word. Myself and Glenn have not looked at another bird. We have just stayed focused on the sandgrass for the past half an hour now. And so as the heat of the day starts to increase, the activity will slowly slow down.
That is absolutely correct. Luckily, we have the sighting with a carcass in the tree, so we can be sure that you'll be around for most of the day. Now that herd, firstly, we did go check the hyena den. It was not active, and then we came back. And that herd of elephants that we saw with the cow with half the ear that was nearby the sighting, when we came back, they were very close, and then they walked through the sighting, which was quite interesting. We heard one trumpet, but everyone else was pretty relaxed, and they just moved through the drainage and up onto the other side. But it spooked little one just a little bit, and he's somewhere around the bottom of the tree. So now Thandi can feast. You can see that gorgeous sunlight pouring through now, with the wind picking up as well. Alan, you'd like to know what the etiquette is when there's more than one car at a sighting. Firstly, 3 cars are allowed at a sighting unless it's deemed sensitive, and any one of the guides can say that they think it's a sensitive sighting, and everyone else will have to respect that. That could be just that the animal is nervous, or there's a cub, a new cub, like for example here with this cub, we can have 3 vehicles. But if there were lions close by that we could see or something like that, then the guide can say, no, you know what, let's keep it as 2 vehicles, because we'll need them to be safe. We don't want to be in the way. Or even at 1 vehicle. Or no vehicles at all. For example, a leopard den site or a lion den site. That would be a closed lock or a negative lock. So we allowed 3 vehicles in a normal sighting like this. And when there's more than 1 vehicle, the only real etiquette is to make sure that speaking too loudly, and that you're not disrupting everyone else's enjoyment of this experience, and that if other vehicles want to come in, you make space for them. That means you have to move out for a little while, or you've moved out for the day. Whatever it is, you make sure that everyone can get a chance to see the sighting. I always find when there's 3 vehicles, it feels very crowded. And I sometimes feel bad for the animal, especially if it's a small space. Here she's in the drainage, in a tree in the drainage, so it's very difficult to get close to her. Especially if the animal's on the move and there's 3 vehicles, it can feel crowded because we're all driving around them. I think 2 vehicles is just right. I mean, 1 vehicle is great, but like I said, we want to enjoy, or let everyone enjoy the sighting. Sometimes it can get very, very, very busy. that most of our animals here are quite used to vehicles. So even though it may seem crowded to me, feel uncomfortable, to Thandi, she doesn't care. Can you hear the ba ba ba? Psh, 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 psh. That's the rattling testiculars close by who can see her and are alarming. The other vehicle is just repositioning to get some nice pics of Thandi. And we're going to stick here with her until the end of show.
All right, welcome back. Welcome back, welcome back. There's just a lot of activity on this pan. I'm just going to find a spot. We might just move. These birds are still coming in constant waves, but there's dragonflies. We saw a couple of weeks ago where the dragonfly was attached to another one, was touching the water. That is how dragonflies deposit their eggs, is by scattering them on the surface of the water. And there's actually a few on the left hand or the southern part of this pan, which is really amazing to see. So we're just going to see what these birds are doing, how many more are still coming in. And then we might just adjust the vehicle and see if we can capture that wonderful sight. It's a little three-banded plover there. If you guys have any comments or questions, thank you for the questions that have been asked. Really thoughtful of you guys, and really nice that you guys appreciate and you guys are curious and interested in the wonderful, spectacular, diverse that we have here on Tswalu. But if you do have any more questions or comments, hashtag WildEarth. I'll be sure to answer them to the best of my ability. Also been looking on the tops of trees for any falcons or raptors that could be keeping a watchful eye on these birds. Very good question. How often do we run into other vehicles while on Tswalu? Hardly ever. There's very, very low occupancy of guards. There's only 10 guards total on Tswalu. And we also have a very low occupancy per day. And that's Tswalu's drive to ensure that we are protecting and ensuring the longevity of this area. So if we had 40 vehicles, the impact on this area would be tremendous. And that's not what we are here to do. So on a typical 3-4 day safari, if you see another vehicle that's like, wow, you actually want to see a vehicle. For constant safari goers, they would ask, where's the other safari vehicles? So we're very lucky with the vastness of Tswalu, and then obviously the low occupancy of guides, that you are literally out here by yourself. We are remote. And that's a very important thing, is to tap into this silence and tap into your inner self and enjoy, start understanding nature once again. Start talking its lingo, basically, I like to believe. So it's a real big privilege and something that's highly sought after, not only for safari goers, but for guides as well, is being out here just on your ace. It's a real privilege. Like I said, I always have to pinch myself. Every morning I wake up, I have to pinch myself on my arm just to kind of see, is this a dream or is this reality? We'll send you off to another location and we'll see you shortly. I think we're going to go look at those dragonflies.
Yes, just wanted to share this beautiful scene that has been set here by these beautiful stripies or zebras And the trees on the backdrop, plus, all the rolling hills back there of the Masai Mara is just a beautiful setting that I have here. These are the Vultures, or the common zebra, and I think these are a few that are our resident that will be staying here after all the wildebeest and zebra go, majority of them, because over here we normally have quite a good number of them, and I'm thinking these are the few that will stay on here. Usually they go with one male and a few mares and the foals, and in this area looks like they are quite happy. It is true that no two stripes of zebras are the same, and it's one of the grazers that actually has upper and lower incisors, so it's able to pull and cut grass, even the shortest grass of them all. That makes it much more efficient in getting food, and also with its modified digestive system, it can utilize all the nutrients in the most roughest and like driest grass, and also they're always in shape, and that's why you see them in good shape like this. Wagging their tails tells me no worries, all is good, and they are enjoying themselves as much as possible. There's a few that are quite smart. They have chosen the tree. It's getting quite hot. It's nice, it must be very nice, to be under that shade. This is an animal that is always producing. Even if it's suckling for a female, it will still come into season and then breed and then give birth while suckling. So sometimes, or maybe one day you might end up finding two foals suckling, and they're of two different sizes. Don't be confused, don't be puzzled. It does happen. And looks like they're all in a mission to get towards the tree. So I'll let them head that way. And while they do that, let me take you to another safari vehicle.
Welcome back to andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve. We've come across quite a sweet little sighting of these vervet monkeys, as you can see in front. There's quite a few of them that were just climbing down these beautiful fever trees off to my right. And they've been slowly sort of feeding and foraging around the area. Now this one is giving us quite a bit of attention. You can see it's watching us very closely. They're very sweet little animals. You can see that very dark face and then that lovely grey colour with a slight bit of white above the eyes. What I'm hearing in the distance, I can actually hear what sounds like a crowned eagle. And that is one of the predators for these vervet monkeys. So they are probably actually crouching down and being a little bit more wary at the moment, because it is possibly one of the biggest threats to these monkeys, this crowned eagle. Just trying to get a view of it now. Can actually hear some other monkeys, some other vervet monkeys, alarm calling in the distance. You can see sort of how he's hunched down and is looking around. Now normally what they do when they are threatened or they do get a view of something like a crowned eagle, they'll go into the trees, but more right in the middle of the tree where they can't be seen or targeted from above. So I think what this one's doing is it's trying to make itself blend in with this trunk. It's just trying to hide behind the trunk now. Just staying to see if we can spot this crowned eagle. Don't know if you can hear that beautiful call. quite interesting to see this behavior. Normally when we hear these alarm calls, you often think like a leopard or a lion. They're one of the more common ways we manage to find predators is alarm calls by these monkeys. Look, it's actually peering at us over this branch here, over that fallen down tree trunk. But we often do forget that they also do alarm call for something like a bird of prey. It's amazing as they are curious little animals. So a few times I've actually been on walks before, and you find that the monkeys are just sort of peering over you at a bush, peering at you over a bush, just like a human would as if you spot something on the path. Very human-like characteristics. Doesn't actually seem too concerned now. He's just slowly grooming himself. You often see them grooming each other as well, picking out little ticks and things, cleaning themselves very nicely.
We are witnessing one of the most extraordinary scenes I have ever seen.
Hop on board the world's largest safari vehicle as we track down Africa's most iconic animals on our daily live shows.
This is crazy.
Captivating characters, breathtaking beauty, and daily drama.
Artwork, $1 million card. How insane is that animal?
Only on WildEarth. Features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.